Right, hello. So it's time for the Halloween stream. So I won't keep the mask on the entire time. I'm going to find out in a minute if you can drink a pint through one of these masks. The gimpy cold weather masks. I will eventually do a proper video on this. Now I shaved my hair, it does actually fit me, but it's not very comfortable. Behind me, I've got the British one as well, which kind of looks a bit more plague doctory, the British one. But yeah, so that's that. Hopefully you'll get some people in the comments in a minute. And we can do this stream just about creepy stories, urban legends, that sort of thing. All right, Mike, and all right, Joshua. I ought to put my glasses on, really, but what I want to find out first, as said, is where's my bottle opener? There it is on the multi-tool. So I've got some Delirium. This is my last bottle of it. Bloody good beer, nearly 9%. Belgian beer. They had some on Amazon for a good price recently, so I bought all their stock out, but that was only like 5 remaining bottles. Because normally these are in the bigger bottles, but they're more expensive. So very strong beer, but it's got a really good taste to it. So I will just fill that up. It's got a pink elephant on it, so I guess that's not really spooky, but you know. You always get a massive head on these. I mean, if you pour it really slowly, you don't. But right, I'll just try this like this for now. And yes, you can drink at least from a bottle through one of these gimp masks. So there you go. That's what I've been drinking. I'm not Jack, I'm afraid, today, Rich. He has a bit more hair than me. But yeah, same sort of mask, isn't it? I'll take this bloody thing off now. It's not comfortable at all. But yeah, it's just one of those cold weather masks. As I was saying, the British one is actually more comfortable, although it's a lot more basic. The British one is just, it's upside down. The British one looks a bit more plague doctory, but so the American one's higher quality, but the British one is a bit simpler. They're just designed to stop your face freezing when the wind blows on it in like an Arctic environment. But I can put my glasses on now and actually read the chat properly. The Galil is new, if you haven't seen the videos on it. But hello, everybody. So yeah, I thought this would be more of a good stream for... No, balaclavas are like the older tech. The cold weather masks are definitely better material for actually keeping the cold out. But I suppose if you have a balaclava that's only got the eye holes in it, that would be quite practical. But it's more that just the materials have changed. A gas mask is actually probably more practical than both, because I certainly find a lot of the gas masks more comfortable to wear. But anyway, going a bit off topic now. So yeah, this. All right, bots. Yeah, not really anything spooky gone on here today, other than putting the US cold weather gimp mask on, one of those. But yeah, I'll do a video on it at some point, but they're not comfortable at all. I mean, I could probably do of a larger size, but I suppose they're not designed to keep you comfortable. They're designed to keep your face from freezing. But again, I'd rather wear just a gas mask rather than that, because they do the same job. But because you actually see pictures of the soldiers on the Eastern Front wearing gas masks to keep the cold out of their face. Because obviously it does the same thing where it traps the air sort of behind it, so your face is warm. Yeah, it's a bit weird, Stuart, isn't it? I suppose it depends where you are and everything, but... Yeah, happy Halloween to everybody. So yeah, this stream is more people can chat about spooky stories or whatever. What was interesting, I watched a video. Is it Shrouded Hand? He normally does videos on like disasters, but he'd done a few recently because of Halloween on like, folk legend type things. And there was the ones about the knockers or the Tommy knockers that was quite good, about, in the mines all around the world where the people hear the sort of noise in the mines, and it's all gone down to like mythical sort of gnome type people in the mines. So in America, they were called the Tommy knockers, but in sort of Britain, they were just called the knockers. Werewolf Bar Mitzvah. All right, I'll listen to that at some point if I remember. Yeah, if you're walking past a police station with a balaclava on, it's probably not a surprise they ran out. I did see some cops today not knowing how to use the indicators on their police car when they were driving around a roundabout, indicating the wrong way when they were driving around a roundabout. Oh, is it a Let's Go Brandon pumpkin? Sounds good. But yeah, hello to everybody joining. All right, Boogaloo Ben. Oh yeah, the one when there used to be actually a bed behind me, yeah, and there was a pillow, but it looked like I had a face in with like the shape of it. Yeah, I'll definitely watch it, Mike, if I'm still awake later. That's why I did this stream a bit earlier, because I thought, this gives me time to get my stream done before your stream sort of video starts. And also just because some days after work at the moment, I'm just so tired that, as soon as it gets to 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., I'm just like, I need to go to bed. I haven't really got any advice for finding parts of Soviet rebreathers. I imagine a lot of the parts in Soviet rebreathers are the same as mask parts. Well, Rich, the one I was saying, funny enough, was kind of about underground tunnels, was the Tommy Knockers one, or just the Knockers. So the one about, the knocking noises in the mine, which apparently warn of danger or lure people into danger. And apparently, it's the weird thing is there's loads of, when I was watching that video, there's loads of different cultures around the world that have the same mythology, just under different names. Even in South America and sort of bits of Eastern Europe as well as Western Europe. And I think there was some even in Asia, of miners hearing like knocking noises and associating with it as some sort of underground sort of demons or whatever. All right, ready up, Maniac? Yeah, I mean, Fuzzy, I think he did do a re-upload of the last one, didn't he? Because I can remember that one being put on more recently again, unless I just happened to rewatch it more recently. I can't remember. I know he did the Alien type one as well, which is a similar thing. But yeah, the VHS one of the things was definitely a good one. But yeah, so in the news at the moment, everybody's arguing about climate change stuff. But unless India and China pull their finger out, there's no point doing anything. Especially because in the UK, I'm getting political on a Halloween stream. Here we go. Especially because on the what's it ones, it's what did you say? Like they're saying we need to pay like in the UK an extra £30 a week more in taxes for like carbon neutral shit. Fuck off, I do a Ouija board, or Ouija board, however it's pronounced, a Ouija board. But funny enough, did you know Ouija board is copyright? I learned that from the newest Red Letter Media video. That's why they always call them like spirit boards on other media, because Hasbro own the rights to it being called a Ouija board. I don't know what you mean by that one, guy. Is Red Tide a game? I don't know. The Ouija board, yeah. Or a Ouija. What was the name of the bad like Luigi? Because wasn't there Wario and something else like Luigi? That would be his board, I imagine. Waluigi. Like, not heard anything about red tides from an ocean. But yeah, so you could use your Waluigi board, and then you get sued by Nintendo instead of what's it? Instead of Hasbro. I just find it funny that like a toy company owns the rights to the word Ouija board. But yeah, I've never done one, but I'm certainly not somebody who would think something would happen for using one, because I think there is stuff we can't explain, but I don't think literally moving a planchette or whatever it's called around a piece of cardboard is going to make a ghost appear. Because I imagine they registered a trademark for it. Because if you register a trademark or a patent before anybody else does, you get the rights to it. That's how it works. But yeah, like I've heard loads of stories about people messing about with Ouija boards and getting like creepy stuff happen, but I personally don't believe that because I reckon you're just like psyching yourself up for stuff, I haven't seen it yet. The only recent film I've watched is the new June, which is okay, but the David Lynch one is better. Or just watch the television series of June, which gets the book's plot down pretty much 100%. It could be. I don't know. I know it's somewhere from the Eastern Bloc, but I don't know if it's Polish. That's a shame, bots. I don't think I've ever seen Mystery Hunters, but I know you still get stuff like that with games and everything else, where a company buys the rights out and then does nothing with an IP. I saw your comment, Brighto, saying Nintendo likes to sue people that make fan games. Loads of companies do. You're gonna get a DMCA. Dan, as I was already saying, it's a load of bollocks, especially if China and India don't bother doing anything. There's no fucking point us doing it. But it will be, people in the Western countries pay more taxes for eco shit that's not actually very green, like electric cars that have horrible batteries in them made out of like cobalt and lithium and that. It's all that sort of stuff, like I've said, this isn't really spooky stream material, is it? But unless the countries that cause the most pollution in the world are held to account, there's no point anybody doing anything. And I'm even more pleased that I want to buy an old nuclear bunker, because I wouldn't have to bother with all that heat pump bullshit in that. It'd be like, you have to have a heat pump. Oh, there's no heating in a bunker anyway. It's just an electric fire. There you go. Like, the thing is, Litter Picker, I can certainly believe you could get, if you did one, you could certainly get hyped up into believing something's happened because of it. But personally, No, bots, it's laser burns. That's why they're purple. It's from a blue laser. They're laser burns. This comes up every stream. They're caused by me shining a laser pen into the camera and burning the sensor out. But yeah, it gets brought up sometimes in comments as well. Somebody going, "Oh, you've got that." But yeah, it's just literally where I've messed about with laser pens a lot. That's why I never do mess about with laser pens with my good camcorder, because that's like $1,000. But yeah, if a laser pen shines into your camera lens, it will burn out your sensor pretty quickly. Yeah, I like Phasmophobia. I've not played it in ages. There's probably been some really good updates to Phasmophobia since I've last played it. But yes, Phasmophobia is good. I probably missed it, Mike. Oh, Darren Brown has done some debunking sort of videos, what Ouija boards work or don't work, and ghostwriting is mostly suggestion. I have seen loads of things about all the old like mystic sort of parlor tricks and way people believe stuff. But like I said, most of that stuff I can certainly believe. like I said, because I've had weird experiences, that I can't explain before. So I can certainly believe there is stuff out there or stuff science can't explain yet, but I certainly don't believe playing with a cardboard board is going to make spirits appear. Because, if that was reliable, wouldn't like militaries use Ouija boards to do psyops type stuff? I have some airsoft stuff, but I never really do it. I can't really sit on the other side. I mean, I can move the camera that way. That's like the best I can do, but I can't move my entire room around. Yeah, that's budget Leatherface, isn't it? Gimp face with a mini chainsaw. I was sort of thinking of doing that for the Halloween special and didn't. And the Halloween special, like I said, I run out of time to film, so I'm just going to probably upload it during the week. They were certainly into the occult to the point they wasted loads of fucking money in fairy tales. What's the name of that castle with the dark sun pentagram type thing? The Black Sun. But yeah, you read all into that. Himmler was a fucking nut job. I mean, he's obviously a fucking nut job for being like a horrible racist cunt, but also, we will waste all this money because I am clearly the King Heinrich who has been reincarnated. So we will, I am like King Arthur or some shit. The Black Sun shit is funny. Basically, they had a mosaic in some old German castle, and therefore they believed it was like the center of occult powers. Yeah, the curtain's always been there. It's been there before I was born. Isn't the pentagram, though, in witchcraft meant to be a symbol of protection as opposed to, like, devil worship? But that's always, like, wrong in most things. You have to ask somebody in this who's, like, got pagan beliefs or whatever it comes from. But I'm pretty sure, from what I've actually heard from people who are into this stuff, a pentagram is a sign of protection from evil, not actually for, like, worshipping the devil. So if you basically had a pentagram on your wall, it would make it harder for ghosts to get you, rather than, like, attracting ghosts to it, as far as I'm aware. But like I said, I don't really believe in all that stuff. The first Saw's all right. Most of the sequels I didn't like at all. No, most of the Wolfenstein stuff is actually based on some of the stuff they really believed in, Rob, weirdly. There was a massive amount of like Nazi budget that went into like crazy occultist kind of theory stuff. Is my stream okay? I don't know how you mean is the stream okay. It's not lagging out my end. The most interesting thing like that, Richard, was the Soviet PSYOP thing, where they got a woman to move magnets under a table to make it look like she was controlling something with her mind. And the whole reason they did that was to get the Americans to waste money on, like, a PSYOPs, their own, like, psychological, like, psychokinetic warfare, or whatever you want to call it, like mind control warfare type thing. Not to scare you, mate, but I can see a face in the reflection behind me. What reflection? The one there? I can't see any faces behind me on the camera. Normally people go, oh, there's a spider behind you. All right, Gandhi's flip-flops. So later picker says the pentagram represents the 4 elements and the quintessence within the circle of completion. Right, I'll pretend I understand what that means. But anyway, like you said, if we can try and keep this on topic of being a spooky stream, not what's your favourite gun, what's your favourite gas mask. Snor says, stayed at Flamborough for the past few days, next door to the old RAF Bempton base on the cliffs. Apparently loads of satanic rituals took place between the 70s and 90s. Spooky place. What, as in the soldiers did satanic rituals, or just when it was abandoned, people went on the site to do weird shit? Yep, Ghost Watch is good. That was brought up weirdly to me a week ago by somebody I know in person. Like, you ever seen Ghost Watch? I was like, yes, I've seen Ghost Watch. But yeah, Ghost Watch is worth a watch. But yeah, Ghost Watch is like from around the period of the Blair Witch, where there was lots of found footage or like fake TV kind of ghost and paranormal things. I've been at work, which is enough of a horror movie, but I've not watched any horror movies today, no, because I've been at work. As I already said, this stream and boring videos, I've had some weird experiences that can't be explained by science as we know it, but that doesn't mean it was a ghost. Like, my mind is open. It could have been a ghost, or it could have just been some weird kind of energy we don't understand anymore. If it's CBBC as in children's BBC, I've probably not seen it. It's probably a bit too young for me. Right, I know of 2 Blair Witch games, Brightle. There was a recent one I didn't play, and there was an older one that played a bit more like Resident Evil called like Rust in Power or something. So I've played the really old one, but I don't know who made that. Oh, right, when it was closed down, Snorts. Yeah, I'll have to have a look into that, but stuff like that's interesting. Yeah, I've not seen that at all then. There was one with Neil Buchanan on where they did things, and they did like a remake of the Balmer's Faces where they did it in some kid's kitchen, and that was scary. That's the one that came out a year or so ago then, Brighthole, so yeah, I've not played that. You were on about Deathloop before. Yeah, I've not played it yet, no, but it's Arcane, and I do like Arcane's games, but Deathloop, again, was like one of those games where when it came out, I didn't really know if I wanted it or not. So I was going to wait for it to be out for a while and then maybe go on sale and then get it. I got Age of Empires 4 the other day, which was really fun. Oh yeah, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is pretty fascinating. Annoyingly, there was a really good video on YouTube ages ago, Flazzy, where they had like tripwire cameras there, where the shadow people were setting off the cameras, and I can't find that video again. Like whether it got copyright strike or whatever, I don't know. Well, the skull patch on the hat was just the SS insignia. It's called the Totenkopf. That's nothing to do with the paranormal. But the SS were certainly into weird paranormal shit, yes. Let me open that up, Snoz, if the link works for me. So there's some pornographic pictures inside. Is that one of the Rotor style ones? Because if it's disguised as an abandoned bungalow on the surface, that's generally like the Rotor style ones like Calvert and Hatch. Oh, they concreted over the entrance. That's annoying. Yeah, I'm assuming that was a Rotor style one then. Yeah, John Wayne Gacy, yeah, prolific paedophile and a clown. I might look at that at some point then, Flazzy. I don't really see any point in painting a GP5, but it's not a rare mask, so do what you want with it. DEFCON, yeah, the only problem with DEFCON bots is it doesn't run well on modern computers, like especially if you're running it at high res because the text is tiny. There's a game that's like a good remake of DEFCON called CBRN, which is pretty good. I think it's CBRN, or is it ICBM? No, sorry, it's ICBM as an intercontinental ballistic missile, and that's sort of a remake of DEFCON that's a bit more in depth, and you can at least play it on 4K monitors without the text being, like for ants. Joshua, as in the town in America where they had their underground coal fires, is that the real sort of Silent Hill town? What's my favourite horror movie? For actually being scary, maybe The Legend of Hell House. In terms of actually like just being a really good fun horror film, Della Morte Della More. But yeah, I do know about that place, Joshua. Like, I don't know enough about it that I could tell you all the facts about it, but I do know it was like one of those underground disaster sort of fire things where it's just horribly toxic, isn't it, to be around it? So that's why they abandoned the town. What's my least favourite horror film? Hard to say off the top of my head, but I have seen some completely shit ones, like awful acting, nothing really happens in them kind of ones made on a shoestring budget. There's a lot of crap horror films out there because of how cheap they are to make. Like you say, most of the ones I like are ones I genuinely either find creepy or just a good fun. But yeah, I certainly agree with you there, Little Picker. If you could spend the evening with a serial killer or a ghost, I'd rather spend my company with a ghost. Babadook. Yeah, Babadook. I actually quite like Babadook when I eventually got round to watching it. Oh yeah, you're right, Rich. The Fog remake is definitely up there as in one of the worst films ever made that I've personally watched. Annoyingly, I saw the Fog remake before I saw the original The Fog, and then when I watched the original, I was like, why the fuck did they bother remaking this? I've got some crap ones that don't really work. I like the games of Alone in the Dark, but yes, it's Uwe Boll, isn't it? Uwe Boll movement that did the Alone in the Dark film. So I imagine it is utter shit. But yeah, if you haven't seen Legend of How House, it's like the original The Haunting, but a bit more graphic and I'd say fucked up. Like the book is a lot creepier than the film, but again, the problem is I think with the book, they couldn't really translate all the bits in the book to the film, or if they would, it'd be a much higher age rating. And then, the studio didn't want that because they wanted it to be sold as, sort of a 15 rather than an 18 film or whatever. Yeah, I've seen all the VHS films. VHS 3 is pretty shit, but VHS 94, the new one, was actually quite good. Yeah, that's a funny thing, Brighton. Like I was saying at the start of this stream about the knockers when I was looking up things about that on the urban legend type things. Is half of them about them killing people, and half of them are giving you money. I don't know if it's because of the reason with a lot of other series in this fact, but with a lot of horror films that are done over decades or quite a few years, it's not always the same company that owns the rights to it, and because of that reason, you don't end up getting them on a what do you call it? The same box sets. That's a really annoying thing of Hammer horror films. that because a lot of the Hammer films were done over decades with different like producers for them, or like, you know, publishers, it's really hard to actually get like lots of the Christopher Lee or like Peter Cushing films in the box set, which is the really annoying thing. So, you know, it's one of those weird series of films where if you pirate them, you can get all of like the DVD rips in one torrent. But if you actually want to legally buy them, you can't, because all of the box sets, you know, like different films owned by different companies. I have not watched Piranha 3D, no. I like Hotline Miami 2, but I think some of the levels are better in the first game. I think it's because Hotline Miami 2 has quite big levels where you get shot off screen more often. But there are loads of like Jaws and Jaws knockoff films, aren't there? Like Piranha and all those, about something in the water, like in the lake or the sea, that eats people. But yeah, recently I've not watched that many horror films. Like I said, VHS 94 is probably the most recent horror film I've watched. The most recent film I've watched altogether was The New June, which was, like I said, like you know my opinions on June. That's the good one. Especially if you watch the 3-hour fan edit that's on YouTube that restores all the deleted scenes that are any good. Funny enough, somebody I work with saw the New June, hadn't seen the 84 one. I told him to watch the 84 one, but I gave him a link to, you know, the fan edit. And he watched that and he said, wow, the new one was shit in comparison. That was so much better. I was like, yeah, of course it is. But the problem is, I think now at least a lot of people are going to realise that is an alright film now they've watched the new one. It's alright, Gandhi. I don't really see the appeal in it because it doesn't do the story any better than the David Lynch one. And because it's all like CGI and just washed out colours, it's just a bit bland. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed watching it, but if you want to watch a June film that tells you the story, you just watch the TV series version. Because, like I said, as somebody who's read the book a couple of times, watched every adaptation a couple of times, the New June is alright, but it doesn't do the story any justice. The original Straw Dogs or the remake, Rich, because the original Straw Dogs is really good. But the remake's meant to be awful, isn't it? Yeah, the 1979 one I watched ages ago because it was on a free DVD that was in one of the newspapers. It's the one, isn't Ernest Borgnine in that one, or somebody like him? I can't remember. Like, isn't Donald Pleasance like the school teacher or something in that one? But yeah, it's lower budget, isn't it, in a sense, because it was a made for TV movie, but it's still a good film. We had to actually watch a bit of the remake of All Quiet on the Western Front when I was doing like GCSE history or whatever it was. And part of that was to show like World War One warfare, where they showed a bit where the guy falls in the crater full of mustard gas and dies. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of, isn't it? Where there's a guy who falls into a crater and there's like mustard gas laying on the bottom of the crater, and he like chokes to death. That is the remake, isn't it? That one. There's a rifle behind me. That's sort of new kit. Nobody does fireworks on Halloween in the UK. On November the 5th, you get fireworks sometimes, but I certainly wouldn't spend a load of money on fireworks. So it's bonfire night, like other people said, is a good night to just shoot a blank gun loads of times because, you know, nobody's going to moan about noise complaints when there's fireworks going off if you're just blank firing a gun. But, yeah, in terms of fireworks, they're a waste of money, in my opinion. Like the one I've got, yeah, for the money, JJ, I'd say get it, just because DX at the moment are generally like quite expensive, and for what that one is, it's really good. Yeah, the one at the end, Rich. Yeah, with the yeah, the big sort of bear trap type thing. Yeah, like whatever sort of trap it is, like poacher trap or bear trap, whatever it is. Yeah. Yes, JJ, but the thing is, I think I've said loads of times before, if I get one, I would like to get the paperwork to be able to get the completely realistic ones, like I've handled before and really enjoyed shooting. I don't really want to get a two-tone one. But when I went to apply for one of those licenses, I didn't end up doing it in the end because they didn't have a properly secured credit card form. And I'm not going to put my credit card details in somewhere if it's not like a properly authorized kind of thing. I have a Swedish one from the 50s, but I don't have a Swedish one from the 30s. Yeah, same here, Miss Fack. It's pretty much November the 5th here, and yeah, December the 31st / January the 1st. You'll sometimes get them on other days, but not very often. It might be where somewhere doesn't do one of the firework displays on the actual date, so they have it like before or after a certain date. And sometimes you'll get somebody buy a load of fireworks for their birthday and set them off somewhere. But for the most part, you're only going to get fireworks on like 2 days of the year. No, I don't own any proper World War I mask bots, mostly because of the reason that I don't trust myself to look after them properly. As in, I'd want a specific space to put it in, so nothing's going to knock into it or risk damaging it. Because I've seen some for sale sometimes on eBay that are like genuine ones for all right money. But I sort of thought, because of the reason that, it's probably just going to end up getting crushed somewhere if I get one, I'm not going to bother, just because it's a bit of a destruction of a good bit of history. Because, yeah, there's a few masks I've got that are like rarer masks, and they're the ones I specifically keep out of sunlight in a cupboard all the time. And with a World War I mask, I'd want to be even more careful with it. So, yeah, that's literally just been the reason, is just because of the fact of how careful I'd want to be with it for the sake of not damaging it. Where when it's, like mass-produced Cold War stuff, I don't care if it accidentally falls on the floor, and something gets thrown on top of it. I probably missed your first comment there, Lucas. I can see one about you saying disabling chemicals, but I can't see the previous one. Let me have a look, Ghost Jesus, and hello to you, anyway. Yes, I do. Not that exact model. I've not got the one with the Parker collar, but I've got several of the Yugoslav/Serbian jackets like that in like different thicknesses and stuff. They're good jackets. That's actually a very good price for it for what it is. But yes, I have those, but not with the Parker collar, basically. I've got some other military Parkers. But yeah, it's a very good price for what it is. The only problem with those is the camo tends to fade really fast on those Yugo jackets because they use the cheap sort of dye on them. I like Mark IV NBC suits. I wouldn't say it's the best NBC suit, but if you can get them cheap here, like you often can, for the very little money they cost, they're good, especially if you just want to use them painting and decorating or whatever. Yeah, it's a good point, isn't it, Miss Mac? Because the thing is, if you're a collector that's really into looking after the stuff properly, all power to you. But what really annoys me is when people buy stuff that's rare and either let it, deteriorate because they don't want to look after it, or, the thing of like they literally buy it to break it. Like the thing that really annoys me is when people buy rare old military gear and they're like, oh, how bullet resistant was this? Let's shoot it and find out. It's like, what are you doing? That's like a really rare helmet. I don't think so, bots. Let me Google them just to see, but I don't think so off the top of my head. So, is it like a company that made like various gas mask pouches and that? I've got a couple of US like pouches, like the Cold War ones and the World War II one I've got. Is it an M3 diaphragm mask? I've got the World War II. I haven't actually looked at who made the like satchels for them. Yeah, OZK suits smell horrible as well, don't they? Yeah, my OZK suit. No, I don't think I have any of them bots. Yeah, my OZK suit, I actually store it outside in a container with a padlock on it, just because I can't stand the smell of it in the house. It's just kind of that like sickly rubber smell it gives off. Like if you had a mask on with it, it wouldn't matter because you wouldn't smell it. But it's just such a weird smell that when it's in the house, it just stinks up a room. Maybe it's because mine's a Russian one, Bright, or like a Ukrainian one. I don't know, but yeah, my one's like the greenish sort of coloured one, which I think is like the Soviet one, isn't it? But the one I have definitely smells bad. It's a bit like when you smell some old Bakelite plastic that's starting to go off a bit. It has this really horrible smell to it. It's hard to explain, but like it's not like an old wet coat smell. It's kind of like it smells more like burning plastic. All right, cheers, bots. Let me load that up now and I'll have a look. Yeah, that's the thing, JJ, because if you're shooting a replica, it's not going to be made to the same standards as an original, so it's pointless. And if you're shooting, an old one, you're just destroying a piece of history. Right, do I have any of those? I'm pretty certain I don't. The closest thing I have to one of those is the bottom left one, and I'm pretty sure the one I have is like a Chinese copy of that Hype sent me, or something very similar, but no. Most of the American masks I have are just like the military ones that have randomly now and again turned up in the UK for decent prices. But yeah, speaking of like the old plastic smell, my granddad had something we had to throw away not too long ago, which was like a really old Bakelite, like serving tray type thing he probably had in his house like 50, 60 years. And over time it started decaying in some sort of way. And the smell of it literally smelt like some sort of carcinogenic chemical type thing. You know, like you smelt it and you immediately got a headache and felt lightheaded, as well as it being a horrible smell. So that just went straight in the bin. Yeah, I'm ready to destroy the pewter as soon as I get to 100k subs. I'll probably wait a day or two after I get to 100k, so it's properly at 100k. And then, it'll get lasered and set on fire, or maybe mini chainsawed. What am I doing for Halloween tonight? Doing this stream. Then I'll probably watch Weapon Collector's video if I'm still awake. Then if I'm still awake with lots of energy, I might watch a horror film before I go to bed. If not, I'll have an early night and then maybe watch some horror films tomorrow. I could do that as well, JJ. I mean, I don't mind shooting it multiple times. First do some shots of an air rifle, then some shots of a crossbow, then set it on fire. But like I said, I'm only doing that because it's an awful mass-produced mask that literally would not protect you if you actually used it. Yeah, sadly, Miss Fack, most of all the old med kits you can buy have all the drugs taken out of them. Because again, that's the thing, is if I bought a Soviet med kit, I'd be tempted to try the LCD type stuff they have in them, whatever the hallucinogenic is in it. I'd be very tempted to try that, and I'd definitely try the opioid, because it's like a morphine heroin strength opioid in it, isn't it? So it's like, again, that's the reason you can't buy them, because it has Class A drugs in them. But if you could just get those Soviet med kits with all the bits in them, I'd definitely be trying the stuff, because most of the stuff in it is the just the things like designed to block strontium 90 and iodine going to your thyroids and your bones. Most of the things in that are nausea prevention tablets and stuff that's designed to put a stable thing into your bone marrow and everything else to stop nuclear fallout getting in. But they do have two really interesting drugs in them, which are the opioid painkiller and the thing, I think it's a nerve agent antidote, isn't it? But it causes you to trip balls when you take it, which is why it's popularly recreationally taken out of all the old med kits. These are kind of, JJ, these are more like syrettes. They're kind of like a plastic thing, sealing a metal syringe in, so it's not like a rusty old, old-fashioned syringe. I could definitely get a non-copyrighted version of that, Richard. I just have to be careful beforehand so I don't get the strike. But yeah, bots, the reason you see all of the if you ever watch the videos of people urban exploring Soviet bunkers, there's a reason all those medkits are strewn open on the floor, and it's because everybody has literally gone through them and taken out the opioid and the hallucinogen from them, either to take themselves or sell on the drug market. But yeah, that is the reason that they're like that. Like I said, because that was one of the things I always found weird. Like, why is there all these urban exploration videos where there's hundreds of these medkits strewn open with only one or two things missing? And it's literally because they've taken, the two interesting drugs out of them. Yeah, it's not actually atropine in it, though, Brighthole. It's something else. I think it was cheaper for the Soviets to mass produce an atropine. But yeah, it's something that literally has an LSD effect on you, apparently, if you take it. Edible of what, Miss Fack? But yeah, you have to be careful with a lot of these things, because even with stuff like alcohol, and again, alcohol is more harmful than a lot of Class A drugs. If you drink too much on an empty stomach, it can hit you really hard. Whereas if you've eaten loads of food, you can sometimes drink and not even get drunk at all because it's not really absorbing through all the food you've eaten. You can actually find a list, Bright, of all the chemical names of what was in those kits. I just can't be asked to search it right now. Ghost Jesus says, last night for Halloween, I went exploring a creepy abandoned homestead near me that hasn't been lived in since the 90s, and the state hasn't done anything with it. That's pretty cool. There's a couple of places near me, but not very many left that haven't been bulldozed that are like urbex type places. The most interesting one's the old sewage works, as you know, like a load of sort of deteriorating concrete buildings and like the old sewage pits, but they've been filled in with gravel, so it doesn't smell or anything there. It's just like, you know, but you can see where all the old kind of like sewage vats were. When you say gas guns, I've got some CO2 pistol type things like air guns, but that's it. It could be brighter. Like I said, I wouldn't know without looking it up. But all I do know is that the Soviet medkits had something in it that made people trip balls when they took it. That, you know, was a counteraction to some sort of chemical weapon or something. It might even not even be a nerve agent thing. It might be for something else. But I do know they had something in there that, again, the two drugs people took out of them was that one and the, you know, painkiller. Because again, it was a really strong, you know, like heroin hit kind of painkiller that was in them. You would need planning permission, huh? Yes. Well, so is it gummy bears with something in them? I know you can get like weed gummy bear type things, but I've never tried those. Yeah, but I'll have to look it up at some point, Bright. I just won't do it on this stream. But yeah, there was definitely something in them that was an antidote to some sort of, you know, common chemical weapon that made you trip balls. So most of the other drugs in it were really boring, you know, just anti-sickness drugs and you know, ones that are designed to be absorbed into your body to stop you getting stuff like strontium 90 and iodine 131 going into your system. Some people like it because it's got the rubber intake valve. I mean, I prefer the shums. The thing is, the shums, again, it's hard to say because I prefer having a bottom-loading filter on the Soviet masks rather than a filter on one side. But right, punches couches. Because saying that the PMK1 and the GP7 have a side-loading filter thing, and I don't like those with, you know, a metal filter rig. But yeah, I wasn't planning on buying any Bright. I'm just sort of saying, you know. That's pretty interesting, Ghost Jesus. I mean, if I was somewhere like that, I'd probably try it, but you know, not that I'd advise other people to do that. But I know there's one of the museums in the UK that has a bit you can't go into in a visitor, but as a visitor, but it has all like the old heroin products in there, like, you know, when they're back rooms, like, you know, heroin cough sweets and all that, when they used to just put it in fucking everything, because, you know, that's how they used to basically view drugs, is I'll take it for everything. Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's like a lot of people do the fake medicines in them as well. You know, where they just put a bit of talcum powder in like various bottles to make it look, you know, if you had it on display like the real thing. It was fuzzy, and then we got somehow talking about drugs and old medkits. I don't know how. Well, that's the thing, Fluzzy. If you took some of these LSDs, you might have a very scary time. I do remember one bloke said to me, I think it was on my dad's mates, that in the 60s or something, they were watching like one of the Hammer Dracula films and they took LSD before they did it, and that was like one of their worst experiences of their life. Imagine watching a horror film and taking LSD beforehand. That doesn't bear thinking about. I mean, it'd be interesting, but that'd be a very bad trip. But yeah, there are some spooky real life things though saying that with like drug trials, you know, like especially the ones where people didn't consent to being given them, where like especially like MK Ultra and similar things where people were dosed without their knowledge of LSD in like crazy amounts to see what would happen. and a lot of them end up killing themselves or just getting their brains fried. And I'm sure somebody in a minute will say LSD can't fry your brain, but you know what I mean? It's given all sorts of drugs that were untested, to see what effects they had on people. Oh, you eating pudding pops? Yeah, you remind me of that image now, the last thing you see at Bill Cosby's house, where it's like loads of images of him just waving in different colours. Yeah, it doesn't sound fun, Brighton. Like I said, the closest I've been to getting blown up before is having a lithium battery explode while being on charge. And that was scary. Okay, let me search that quickly, Ghost Jesus. Oh, is that a car? Chocolate pop or whatever it is, yeah. Oh yeah, Witchfinder General is a very good film. Vincent Price in it, yeah. But yeah, it's all about like the abuse of power, isn't it? And the fucking crazy thing is that he was a real bloke, wasn't he? I mean, the film probably exaggerates some of it, but he did literally go around like raping, under the guise of finding witches and all that. And just not charging, like, torturing people for the fun of it. If you had a new filter on a GP5, it'd be fine against tear gas. But yeah, I'd say there's a lot of creepy films that are like, ones that are a lot more real. Because yeah, like obviously if you watch a film like Halloween, as much as they can be good films, like it's blatantly, not a real film. When there's some horror films that you watch and like this is a bit too close to reality. Yeah, Little Picker, that was the thing, wasn't it? Most of them were seeing like if they could literally, use it to poison people without their knowledge or get them to like give up secrets and all that, wasn't it? It wasn't being done in like an ethical way. It was literally like, what can we do to people, sort of thing. Where yeah, they did the sort of things of because wasn't there one example where they were giving it to like completely unaware people in like cafeterias in random places to see like what would happen or something. I don't know if that was part of MK Ultra, but I think that was like one of the countries' LSD things where they were like on purposely seeing like if people would attack each other or whatever. There's quite a funny old British training one, a bit like the American ones, where they're giving British soldiers on exercise LSD, where they're like talking to trees by the end of it. But I hope they were given blanks in their guns in that one, because they are going around with all the kit on. And you think, are they going to end up shooting each other? Being given this much LSD. Problem is, if you get an FP5, it probably won't fit a GP5. We've said about this quite a few times. Basically, the GOST Polish filters are called P5s, but it seems a load of the FP5s are just P5s that are labeled FP5s. But if you buy like a modern FP5, it's not GOST. It's just a NATO filter. But like if you bought the early FP5s, I think they're just relabeled P5 filters. Oh, so it's kind of bright, or is it kind of like when you're in a REM state then, when you have nightmares, that kind of thing? Because I have fucking crazy nightmares every night. I had one last night where I was in the fucking building that was flooding, and like the water was getting higher and higher, and like everybody was trying to find trying to find a way out of the building, and the water was getting up and people were drowning, sort of thing. Yeah, it makes complete sense, Little Picker. Is it a good one though, Ghost Jesus? Because some of those adapters are like really flimsy plastic that don't really work. If you got any P3, was it going to be like an A2 P3 filter? It'd be fine against tear gas, I imagine. Is 2012 like the end of the world film? If so, I've not seen that. I've seen The Day After Tomorrow, which is like an older thing of the exact same plot, isn't it? Yeah, I can remember the one last night where everybody was drowning just because it was pretty horrific. It was like everybody was trapped. I think it was like in a shopping mall type place. You know, like all the doors were shut and it was flooding outside and the rain was coming down really heavily. You know, and it was just the water level was going up and up inside the mall, you know, and then eventually people were just trapped in like shops and couldn't get, you know, any higher and were drowning. Or like, you know, dying of cold exposure or something from the freezing water. Pretty miserable dream. But no, I've not watched that 2012 film. Anyway, I'll be off fairly soon just because at the moment I don't think we're really talking about creepy stuff. But I'll do it if people want, if we can think of good stuff to talk about on the spooky stream. I don't mind doing another spooky stream in the week because, as said, I sort of wanted to do one for Halloween, but in the end, sometimes it just ends up these streams. Nobody really wants to stay on subject. Yeah, thank you. Happy Halloween. So A2, B2, P3, Brighto says. Right, let me have a look, Ghost Jesus. Right, that's different than the one I had, but how good it is if it's 3D printed, I don't know. Because a lot of 3D printed stuff can sometimes be a bit naff in quality. So it says it's SLA printed, so that might be better. But yeah, you see, if I was in the UK and could get that for a good price, I'd buy one to test it. But obviously, I need to pay shipping from America for that, so I'm not going to do it. Oh, exactly, Little Picker, and you're not having somebody like trip watch you, are you? If you're just given, because you're essentially being spiked, aren't you? If somebody gives you a drug like that and you don't know you're being given it, it's like you're saying, it's a completely different experience than knowingly say, you know, tonight I want to take a certain drug, or being, you know, given it without your consent, you know, for somebody to essentially take advantage of you. Ask it good to know, bot. So yeah, it's one of those things then for the people saying it that I'd assume, yeah, don't rely on a 3D printed converter because it's not going to work. Coronavisor, let me look that up. Assuming that's something different, is it, than a Oh, so it's something to do with time viewing. Okay. So Von Braun was involved in designing it. This is crazy. So it was a cathode ray tube thing. So this is interesting. So basically, in theory, because I guess because like it's saying there, there's loads of conspiracies about it. The idea is that it viewed historical radiation to view past events. See, that's really interesting because again, it's that stone tape sort of idea that, you know, there's stuff imprinted from memories into, you know, like the stuff which could replay as a ghost kind of event, I guess. It'd be worth it, Ghost Jesus, but yeah, like I said, like Bots was saying, I think the problem with a lot of the 3D printed stuff is it, like Bots was saying, it might be a bit porous. But again, I know from buying 3D printed stuff before, it can really vary in quality just on 3D printed stuff alone. Like, you know, I've had some 3D printed stuff of various things that's really solid, like good quality plastic, and other stuff that just like snaps really easily. Yeah, it's certainly interesting punches, isn't it? Looking that up, I didn't even know that was a thing, but because that's one of the ideas I kind of have with ghost stuff. You know, if you're going to say it isn't actually ghosts, is that it could be something that's imprinted, like say some sort of radiation that's imprinted onto like an object or an environment, and some of that energy can replay or make you feel certain things. Yeah, speaking of stuff like that, Litter Picker, there was a medication I used to be on. I've completely refused to stop taking it now. And one of the side effects that could give you is hallucinations. But it wouldn't really be visual hallucinations, it would be audio hallucinations. and to you they sound completely real. So basically, you could hear somebody in the next room, like in their exact voice, whether it be like a relative, a neighbor, a friend, or whatever, like maybe talking about you, saying how they're going to kill you, when you're asleep or something like that. And it makes you completely fucking paranoid because you don't know, obviously if it's real or not. And that's one of the reasons I hated this medication, because it would literally like completely disrupt your sleep, because you'd keep hearing like people whispering in the next room, or like maybe somebody trying to kick your front door in or something like that, and then you have to keep getting up to check it and there's nothing there, but you wouldn't feel reassured even when you've gone to check it. So that was one of the things, because if it gave you obviously some cool trippy hallucinations when you were somewhere comfortable to do it, that would be something else. But because it was literally just disrupting sleep and everything else, of just where it sounded like somebody was coming to get you. Yeah, they've actually fixed Fallout 3, haven't they now, Fluzzy? Could be Oliver, but the ones I have don't bother me because they're interesting, because I know they're actually nightmares when I wake up. They're not like the same hallucinations. All right, see you, Brighto. But yeah, now Microsoft has bought out Bethesda. They made them actually patch out games for Windows Live finally. So if you own it on PC and don't want to install mods, you can actually play Fallout 3 again. What's the most effective camo I own? I know that's not really related to a spooky stream, though, is it? But the most effective camo I know of that I really like is Finish MO5, but I don't have any. Yeah, it had other bad effects as well, like it caused like lots of urination trouble and stuff like that. All around, it was like, for the benefits of taking it, it had way more nasty side effects. And again, I think it's probably just because it was cheap for the NHS to prescribe it compared to other medications. But like I said, I've just refused to take it now because I had way more negative side effects than the actual good effects it gave me. And again, it was one of those medications where they don't really know how it works. They're just like, oh, we think it might work like a painkiller, so why don't you take it? Not. But anyway, I'll see everybody on Mike's stream later if I'm still awake, because that should be very interesting. So if you don't know, that's Weapon Collector's channel. He's in the comments at the moment, so just click on his channel to go to it. And he's doing a Halloween type stream, so about like spooky stories viewers have sent in. And I've got one I've sent in for that, which is one that I might have told people before. It's not really a ghost story, it's just something weird that happened that I can't explain. And again, I thought that was interesting because it's something like I'll completely swear happened, but somebody else I was with saw the same thing, but we couldn't explain it. It's not really a ghost thing, but it's still a weird kind of story that's, interesting if you're interested in that sort of stuff. So yeah, here we go. It's the Squid Game thing of everybody saying Squid Game's good or Squid Game's crap. I'll watch it at some point and tell you what I think, but I'm not bothered to do it yet, no. Right. Have a good evening, everybody. See you all. Bye.